just duplicate the last one that I sent out, I think, to the full.
Oh, hey, I just got a notification in Zoom that says it's now streaming on YouTube.
It's loading. Yeah, it's starting. So just, do
Okay.
you have our YouTube? It looks like we're live.
It's on both.
Oh, wait, I'm hearing myself. Hold on. There we go. I just muted myself. Okay, so I see it up on YouTube. So if you are watching, hello. So now you're good to go, Jeffrey, if you want to load that on the page. Do you have the link?
I do.
Let me send it to you. I can send it to you here in Zoom too. So that's probably not the embed link though, but that's the link to the website. Do you have to log into YouTube to get it? You're on mute, Jeffrey, but that's okay. The email hasn't been sent out yet. So there might be a couple people showing up. If you're showing up live, hello, we're about to start filming a brand new program on.
Sent out yet. So there might be a couple people. I'm getting the page set up.
Okay, go for it. Just let me know. I'll keep checking the page. Oh, I think it is set up.
So did you enable live chat?
No, I don't know how to do that. How do I do that?
Oh no, it's working. It looks like
Chat's working. Do we have a test?
Let me make the chat box not as tall on the web page because it's pretty tall right now.
If you're just joining us, hello. We're about to get started with the first session. We are recording a brand new program called How to Get Hired During a Recession. How to Get Hired During a Recession. And if you're here, you get to watch us film it for free. You're looking at camera number 2 right now, so you'll get to see me in between the sessions. And then once we go live to record the programs, you'll get to see me give the presentation that we're going to package into a program after this. And I'll be filling you in on the rest of the details here over the next few minutes. So yeah, Jeffrey, I wonder if it is working. It's not letting me comment on the YouTube box.
Are you signed in?
Yeah, you have to have an account, a channel to be able to comment.
Can you guys see the comment boxes?
Yeah.
Can you change that though, so you don't have to have a channel? In the
there we go.
Something?
So I saw Lisa's comment come up. That's great. I think you just have to have a YouTube account, I think is what it is.
Yeah, you have to sign in with your YouTube channel or create a YouTube channel or.
Yeah, so as long as you have an account, Jeffrey, you can comment, which I think is the best we can do at this point.
Okay.
And then Lisa, the email gets sent out?
I just sent it. It is likely processing as we speak.
All right, thank you. And then Jeffrey, are we able to see, because we can see obviously who's on YouTube, but that's not going to be very many people compared to the web page. Are we able to track how many people are on the web page by chance?
With analytics, yeah.
Oh yeah, I could do that. Huh? I don't know. Oh, it would be under. Let me adjust this camera. It's a little bit flimsy. Maybe if I do this. There we go. Is that better?
I think this chat thing is going to be pretty cool.
I think this too. And if you can hear cats in the background, that's Lisa, for those of you that are on early. All right. Hello, everyone. We're just getting set up here. You are getting a behind the scenes view of the new program that we are recording today for PhDs, How to Get Hired During a Recession. We are clearly entering a recession, and it's similar to what I went through in 2008 when I was a PhD student after the financial crisis. So we decided to do this special program. We are going to sell it afterwards for around $400. But we wanted to give you a chance because you're one of our insiders. You're on our email list or otherwise, or you heard about this from maybe a friend or someone else. I want to give you a chance to watch us do this live, and you're going to get to see everything that the program will include for free, as long as you keep showing up to all of the sessions throughout today and the next 2 days. You can, if you go to the web page, cheekyscientist.com/live-stream, depending on where you're watching this, you can download the full agenda. We have a couple of other free items there too. We're just finishing getting set up, and we're about to start session 1, which is the keynote. So we're excited for that. We got a few more things to get set up, and then we'll be switching over to camera 1, where we will be walking through the special keynote on the COVID-19 job market and what it means for PhD careers. So stay tuned for this. If you're on the right webpage, cheekyscientist.com/live-stream, you don't have to go anywhere. You can just stay on this page and the cameras will switch and you will get to see the full program being recorded. So we're almost set up here. I'm just gonna make sure we're on the right pages, make sure we can see everything in real time. There is a comment box too. I'm going to be giving away some free gifts to those of you who ask questions in the comment box, and I'll read them out during these in-between sessions. So in between the sessions, I'm going to turn over here to camera 2 and talk to you. You're getting, again, an inside view of us creating this course. Again, it's great to see you on here. Very excited for today. We'll just get a confirmation in the chat box, one of the other chat boxes here, or either of them from Lisa, that we are indeed, we have indeed sent out the URL to the email list, cheekyscientist.com/live-stream. And if that's the case, we will be ready for session 1. So great to see everybody on. Again, this is camera 2. You're going to get to see inside, behind the scenes, in between sessions with me here. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things that have to do with PhDs. I'm going to be answering a lot of questions. If you ask your questions in the chat role, which is a little bit lower on the page, cheekyscientist.com/live-stream, then we are good to go. We're getting set up here. We're just waiting for the final email to go out. We also have a Facebook message we're going to be sending out too, to make sure as many people as possible get to see this keynote. Great to have you all here. We're just about ready to get started with session 1. We're going to be talking about the COVID-19 job market and what it means for PhDs. What it means for PhDs. All right, great to see you on. I see a few of you joining. If you want to say hi in that YouTube chat box, we'll be able to see you on the web page. Good to see you on. Jeffrey, you are good to go. Just stay tuned. We'll have Lisa reach out to you if anything goes down on the website. All right, hello everyone. So today we're talking about a lot of different topics. We decided to create a brand new program specifically for PhDs, which is going to be called, this is the working title, How to Get Hired During a Recession. We are entering a recession, and the dynamic of getting hired, the job search process is very different. So we decided to create a brand new program. We're going to sell this program for around $400. And we wanted to give all of our insiders, people who are on our email list, our social media followers, etc. That's you if you're here. We wanted to give you a chance to watch the course be created for free. You're going to get to see all of the course content as long as you are here. 3 full days of content, everything that you need to know to prepare yourself for the current recession, to make sure that you either are able to keep your job or B, you're able to get hired, how you can protect your career during the recession, how you can protect your career during, how you can protect it from unemployment, really how you can create a safety net so that no matter what happens, if you're at a university and they freeze spending, which does happen during recessions, you have options. And then that's the point of what we're going to be discussing today. So great to see all of you on. I think we got the live stream out. This is camera 2. You're getting to see behind the scenes for those of you that are showing up. We're about to get started with the keynote session 1. You're here because you're a Cheeky Scientist insider. You're here because you maybe a friend sent you this link. Either way, you get to see us create a brand new program. Our new program, the working title is How to Get Hired as a PhD During a Recession, or How to Keep Your Job During a Recession. That's the new program we're about to start recording. We're going to sell it afterwards for $400 or around that price, but because you're here, you get to see it all for free. We have 2 different cameras here. I'm going to be talking to you in between sessions here on my personal camera. So you can stay on this page, cheekyscientist.com/live-stream. We'll be changing over cameras to a front view with slides as I go through the program and we start recording. We are getting ready right now to start the first session, the COVID-19 job market and what it means for PhDs career. Very excited, so stay tuned. I'm going to switch the camera. You might see a quick pause, but then I'll come back on and it will be the live show. And then after the live show is done, this first session is about 30 minutes. I'll come back over here to camera 2 and I'll talk to you and we'll kind of recap everything and take questions. For those of you that ask questions in the chat box or say hi, if I say hi to you, I'll say hi to a lot of you. If I answer your question, we'll send you some free gifts. We'll either give you an ebook bundle or some of our brand new giveaways. So ask good questions in there. I see some of you already, Anita and Abdallah and Anna, Ananya, good to see you on. So we're going to switch over now and start recording this new live program. And because you're here, you get to see it for free. So stay tuned. I'll be right back. We're going to switch the cameras over. And with that, I'm going to move it to the slide, and I'll see you in the second camera angle here in just a second. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special new training program from Cheeky Scientist. This new program is called How to Get Hired During a Recession as a PhD. This is the first training. We are going to be discussing specifically the COVID-19 job market and what it means for PhD careers. The program title will be How to Understand a Recession as a PhD and How to Protect Your Career and Protect Yourself from Unemployment. Now let's take a look at the current situation for the overall economy, for the overall job market. Now it's important for you to understand that things have changed. For the last several years, hiring was at the highest level it's ever been worldwide. Now, of course, some countries, some economies affected that average and were above average or below average, but overall, hiring was way up. In many cases, it broke records from where it has been in terms of unemployment levels, were the lowest it's been in 20 years in some countries, and 50 years in others, almost 100 years in still other countries. So it's important for you to understand that that is no longer the case. And this is what a lot of PhDs are having a hard time with, in terms of they're having a hard time wrapping their heads around how things are changing and how they have already changed. So I wanted to show some of the reports that have been coming out, including this one. This is the UK. Obviously, unemployment rates sky high, double, which is huge. And this is not going to be a course in economics, but we are going to talk about a couple of things that are occurring and will occur and how it's going to affect your job security as a PhD. There are some things you can do to build a safety net for your career here, but you must look at the data first. So consider this 30-minute first training module as an inside view into where things are, and then we're going to discuss what you can do about it. So UK unemployment doubles, GDP collapses. Now GDP, gross domestic product, we're going to come back to that. What does that mean? How is it connected to the job market? What does it mean for PhD careers? How is it connected to academia and your local government? Stocks, Europe head lower ahead of key unemployment data. All of Europe, of course, unemployment is skyrocketing as well. What about the other side of the world? Australia, the definition of what is bad has been broken. Unemployment is through the roof in Australia. This is just in this past week, okay? This is worldwide. Now, you might be insulated from this in a sense because you are unemployed. Because you are working remotely. You might be insulated from this because you're in academia and you're not really sure what's going on. You might even just be you might have insulated yourself because you're more focused on watching the news about the virus or, what the trigger was for all of this. And you haven't really felt the effects of the mass unemployment that's happening. But it's there. Something's not right because you can't go to maybe your favorite restaurant, or you are working remotely, or you're told to stay at home. It goes on, and I could cover every single country here. The US, which tracks unemployment data very closely, shattered records with 3.3 million filing in one single week. 3.3 million people in a single week. And I'm going to show you how that compares to other data here shortly. India as well, they were already in an unemployment crisis. It's become even worse. And the list goes on and on and on. So what happens when there's this kind of unemployment? And maybe you're thinking like me, well, things don't seem that bad. And this is very similar to what I experienced in 2008 during the financial crisis when I was a PhD student. I was in academia. I was a PhD student, was younger. I was insulated from it. I didn't really know. I heard about a lot of unemployment, but I thought this isn't going to affect me. I'm a PhD student. This isn't going to affect my, the labs or what's happening. And I was in a great situation at the time. Grant funding was at one of the highest levels that it had ever been in 2006 and 2007 when I first became a PhD student. I remember our lab and my PIs, they were so happy and there was so much money flowing around that even at our lab meetings, we had like 12 people. We'd have like 12 pizzas. Right? I could measure the economic success by the number of pizzas at our lab meeting. And I just remember it being a really good time, but things turned very quickly. And I didn't know why. I didn't know what was happening at the time. And what I was confused about is that like, I didn't really know much about the stock market or the financial markets, but I knew they went down. But then I knew there was like a big government stimulus. But for some reason, the financial markets continued to crash even after the stimulus. Labs around me started shutting down. TAs were let go. There was a spending freeze. All of the postdocs, many of them, if not all at some institutions, were let go. And it was like The Walking Dead around my university. I mean, it was seriously like half of the people were gone. People that had tenure were essentially, forced out or encouraged out. And so it affected university levels. Grant funding went very, very low. And my prospects of getting a job in academia or outside of academia got much, much more difficult. And that's what's starting to happen now. And it's something that I'm very passionate about. It's a reason that we wanted to create this new program is because PhDs, many of them, they got into graduate school or their postdoc, et cetera, when the hiring market was way up. They have no idea how to handle a recession. They have no idea what that means for their careers. Now let's look at what happened in 2008, because it's very similar to what we're seeing happening now. And I want to discuss this with you. So this is what happened to the financial markets. Okay, you see this orange line? This is the financial market. This is the S&P 500. Now, every different country, they have different financial markets, different indicators, but you saw this trend, a very similar trend across the globe. And this is not going to be an economy class, but you need to understand this because it's going to show you what you need to do now for your career versus later. So first, there's a trigger. Now, the trigger in the 2008 financial crisis was the housing bubble. Okay, but this isn't the first and only trigger that we've ever experienced. In the 1990s, it was the dot-com bubble. Now it's the coronavirus. That's the trigger. In a sense, the trigger doesn't matter. That's just a variable that we can isolate. There's always a trigger. It could be many different things. The trigger in this case is the coronavirus. Here it was the housing bubble. Either way, this trigger happens and it causes the financial markets to crash. And that's what we've been seeing. Now, notice every single week it doesn't crash, right? Look at like this week or these 2 weeks, it seemed like it was going way up. Then it crashed again. Then it really crashed. Then this week, it seemed like it was going way up and people thought it was good. And then it continued to crash. And then it went up again. And then it continued to crash. And notice here that it didn't bottom out till March of 2009. Why is this important? The housing bubble happened in the fall of 2008. The fall of 2008, okay? Not only that, but later in the fall, in around October, a huge stimulus package in the US and many other countries worldwide was passed, a huge government stimulus. In the US, it was called TARP, Toxic Asset something package, relief package. That's what it was called in the US. Many other countries had similar stimulus programs. Now, here's the crazy thing that most people don't realize, and this is what's coming. And this is why you're here. This is why it's important for you to understand what you need to do for your career now, because things are going to get much worse. And because you're here in this program, you will be prepared for it. So the TARP was passed here. Now, here's the weird thing. Look at this. The financial markets went up a little bit after the stimulus was passed, maybe for a couple of weeks. It certainly was up and down. And then look at this, as the TARP disbursements, as the money started to be released from that huge stimulus plan. And I still remember this in 2008, I got my check from the government for like $1,000. Like they gave everybody a check for $1,000. But what did everybody do? Everybody was so afraid that they just held on to that check. They didn't spend it. So it didn't stimulate the economy. So you see that the stimulus is being rolled out, the money's being dispersed to all the different industries, to the individuals, unemployment pay, everything. But what happened to the financial markets? They continued to go down. This is important for you because the job market follows the financial market crash and then makes the financial markets continue to go down and the overall economy continues to suffer. Okay, so let's tie this together. Now focus, use your PhD skills here of logic to follow this. There's a trigger, whether in 2008 here with the data we're looking at, the housing bubble, now it's the coronavirus, the financial markets crash. We've already experienced this. We're here. We're right here. This is where we're at now. The stimulus package in the US, it was called the CARE package, referred to as the coronavirus package, the stimulus package. A lot of other countries have had a similar stimulus package from the government. And a lot of people think, oh, the government's going to take care of me. Oh, there's going to be better unemployment, or, oh, they're going to give more money to industries and universities, et cetera. The problem is that no government is big enough, no government, even at the smallest countries, is not big enough to entirely take care of an economy. It can't replace an economy. And there's nothing more to say beyond that. It just can't fully replace it. And there's always a dramatic lag because unemployment affects the economy more than any sort of stimulus. So we're here right now. And as the stimulus will get reimbursed, it hasn't even started to get be dispersed yet, but it was passed. So we're here. Now, all of your government stimulus plans are going to start to be released, but what's going to happen to the financial markets? They're going to continue to go down. Now, things move a little bit quicker in today's age. So instead of it being from like October to March, the bottom of the financial markets, by the way, it was like March 28th. Instead of them going down for, what is that, November, December, January, February, March, instead of being about 5 months, let's say it's like 2 to 3, maybe 3 to 4 months. Things move faster, but not that much faster. You're going to see the financial markets continue to go down, especially as the unemployment data continues to go out. Okay, so let's look at this figure here. Now, this is the unemployment data in North America. It was the trends are very similar worldwide, but as far as the most accurate data collected, this is what we have. So this is around that same time. Now, look at this. These are jobs created or lost. So here's 0 at the start of the trigger. And these are the lost jobs. These are the created jobs. Look how many jobs were lost every single month. Okay, a lot. This is a net change in employment per month. Now, here's the crazy thing. Look at this. So the month peak was about negative 800,000 on this scale. In just the US alone, in 1 week, there was 3.3 million unemployment claims. So this is 800,000 per month. Last week in the US alone, it was 3.3 million. You can't even, you don't even know how to deal with that. We have no idea how bad that's going to make the next couple of quarters, how much the GDP is going to plunge. Now, why am I showing you this? Because look at this. This is where we are now. Okay. Like we're here and we're just starting to get some of that unemployment data in. It doesn't bounce back automatically. That's the point. Look at this red trend line. See, this is the unemployment rate. How long did it take for the unemployment rate to get back to the 0 line? How long did it take to get back? So we're here. Years is the answer. So this is the very beginning of the end of 2008, the beginning of 2009. So we have 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. So for those of you that are maybe feeling like, oh, everything's going to be okay, or you're thinking, or you're hearing from media otherwise, this is going to come right back. We're going to be fine in a few months. My academic job is going to be there. My postdoc's going to be there. It's still going to be easy to get hired. I'm sorry, you are wrong. Now, the good news is there are jobs for PhDs that are going to surge, and we're going to show you where those sectors are. That's a big part of what we're covering during this program. So it's just important for you to know that, look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4 years. Now, even if you shave a year off of that because things bounce back quicker and information moves faster, you're still looking at a few years. Things are going to be not get back to normal in terms of the unemployment rate for a few years. So as this job loss data continues to come out, the financial markets will go down, the economy continues to stall. So you're looking at through this year, through next year for sure. And then maybe after that, it starts to recover. But you're going to have, and even on here, you could see jobs were continued to drop for an entire year before you had any sort of good news, really a year and a half. And the unemployment didn't stabilize for several years later. Okay, so if you're trying to look ahead and you're trying to gain some certainty on what's going to happen, you can't just be a mindless optimist. You can't not look at the data. You have to say, okay, that's the way things were is over. Pre-coronavirus life and hiring is over. Where am I at now? What does the data look like now? Where are we headed? And that's what we're going to focus on is the post-coronavirus job market. How to handle your career in a recession, how to get hired. Now, the good news is that Cheeky Scientist was created during the recession. So it was launched in 2010, which you can see here, right? Right after this. This is where I started to enter the job market, and it was not good. Look at the unemployment rate. Very, very high, right? We were still almost at the peak here. So this is where we were launched. We know how to get PhDs hired during a recession. That's a big part of what we are going to cover. And that's a big part of what this keynote is. Now, just to show you again on a scale that's going to show you the scale of unemployment. This is just for the US. It's similar worldwide, but the US tracks very accurately in terms of weeks. Previously, you can see here, right, week by week, you might see the peak. I think the previous record was about 800,000. Last week, almost 3.3 million unemployment, something that no economy has ever had to face. No government, no industry, and this is happening worldwide. So you need to be here. You need to watch the rest of this program, watch all of the training modules to make sure that you understand what you can do for your career in a recession. Now, a lot of PhDs think, oh, well, my university is going to take care of me. My university is separate from the economy. It's not in industry, or the government's going to take care of me. Incorrect. Okay, in 2008, again, after the financial crisis, when I was a PhD student, grant funding went from one of its highest levels ever to one of its lowest levels. The approval rate dropped to like 1% to 2% in terms of grants getting approved. People, PIs did not handle that stress well. A lot of the postdocs were let go. Even in my lab, a PhD student was forced out. The PhD students who stay because they're the cheapest labor, they get pushed much harder and they're forced to stay much longer. My PI wouldn't even let me graduate because I was one of the few PhD students he had that he could push. He didn't have any postdocs. All he had was his PhD students, and he pushed them like postdocs, and he kept them there longer because they were cheap labor. And this is already happening. Universities around the world are freezing hiring, and they're starting to freeze spending. Now, when a spending freeze happens, they don't just go and tell all the postdocs and all the people remote now or at the university, hey, in 2 weeks, we're going to have to let you go. No, they say today there was a the spending freeze was decided. We have to let you go. And entire institutions are doing this. And we're going in the later sessions and modules here, we're going to be talking to James Gould at Harvard Medical School about what you should be doing right now, what your first step should be in terms of preparing for your career so that you have a safety net, so that you know how to get hired in industry in the sectors that are going to be hiring during a recession, the sectors that actually go up for PhDs in a recession versus targeting jobs that go down or trying to stay in academia where the postdoc pay is going to flatline, possibly even go backwards, if not let go. And you can see this is these are major media that's posting this. You can't just ignore this. You can't think you're going to be okay. Nobody's going to tell you that you're out of a job or that your postdoc is let go or that you're not going to get to that next step or that things are going to get harder for you. It just is going to happen. But you're here, so you can plan now. You can plan for your career in the job market. So this is a quick picture of me. This is me in 2007. Very happy, right? Eating all of those pizzas during the lab meetings like I talked about. Funding was great. Everybody was happy. This is me a couple of years later. And you can see I got a stress-induced kidney condition. I was under so much stress. I started to lose a lot of weight. it was one of the more stressful times in my life. Things just went from being very good, me enjoying being in the lab, being a PhD student every day, learning a lot, to just intense pressure that I was not ready to handle. A lot of the labs shut down. A lot of the TAs were let go. A lot of the postdocs were let go. The PhD students that remained were pushed very hard and were not allowed to graduate. And it became a very stressful situation. And this is what's around the corner when recessions happen. I mean, how much stress are you under now compared to, even just a few months ago? Things are going to get worse as this unemployment data starts to get in, but you can prepare for it. Knowledge, right, gives you a sense of certainty. These reference points, knowing what's going to happen, allows you to get ahead of it. So everybody else is freaking out, but because you have this training program, you will know what to do. Now, things haven't been that good in academia for a long time, but during that same time, during a recession or during when things are good, either way, this trend has continued here in academia. PhDs keep getting awarded, right? But there's no jobs for them in academia, even when times are good, right? Whether it's during a recession or afterwards, this gap is huge. There's never enough professorships. And these aren't full-time professorships, by the way, that increase. Full-time professorships and tenure professorships are going extinct. They're being replaced by low-paying adjunct, part-time, and contract professorships. This is going to escalate during a recession. This was the trend line to 2011. It's down to below 20% now for full-time positions. During this recession, we are going to see the final extinction of tenure and full-time positions. There's not going to be any money for them. The tenure professors that remain are going to be forced out. I saw it in 2008. In 2008, a lot of the tenure professors, a lot of the full-time were forced out. They were replaced by adjunct, part-time, contractor, and we're going to see this accelerate, and you're going to see the extinction of full-time and tenure professorships. So if you think that's where you're headed, they're not going to exist. Nature, this is something that we've showed frequently at Cheeky Scientist, that postdocs damage your career. So during this time, you'll have a lot of people tell you, they'll misinform you saying, well, just stay in academia. A postdoc will help your career. Ride things out, stay in your postdoc, and then you can get out. The problem is the longer you stay in your postdoc, and the data on this is very clear, the worse off your future career is. The longer you do a postdoc, the more it damages your career, especially during a recession. So this is Nature. The red is people who did not do a postdoc. The blue is people who did a postdoc. You have on the y-axis salary and career trajectory, and you have years on the x-axis. You can see after 15 years in the full sample, which includes academic jobs, government, nonprofit, industry jobs, those who did not do a postdoc always stay ahead in terms of salary or career trajectory than those who do a postdoc. So the people who do a postdoc never catch up to people who do not. So you cannot rely on, the overall message here is that during a recession, you cannot rely on academia. And I say this respectfully, you cannot rely on the government to save you. The stimulus isn't going to save you. Academia isn't going to save you. You have to save yourself. You have to build a safety net for your career. And that's what the rest of this program is going to cover. Now, here's what things looked like pre-coronavirus. For every 525 applicants for a job, 12 to 15 were asked to do a phone screen, 4 to 5 are asked to do a video interview, and then 1 or 2 do a site visit. And that's where they would make their choice on the final few candidates. And you'd have between 4 to 10 different interviews before somebody got hired. Obviously, with the remote work that's continuing to skyrocket, the stay-at-home orders, the virus has changed this. There are no more site visits. In most cases, site visits have been stopped. So interviewers are making their decisions on hiring for the sectors that are still hiring, which there are many for PhDs, and we're going to go through these and we'll talk about them in later modules. This is where the decisions are being made. So we're seeing these numbers actually increase, and we're seeing that these lines get blurred. In some cases, they're skipping the phone screen. Other cases, they're doing more phone screens or more video interviews, but there's no site visits. So they have to decide here for the people that they video interview. And it also means that they're going to have to select you from a larger pool of candidates, because they're not narrowing it down to 1 or 2 video interviews like they were for a site visit. They're still narrowing it down to 4 to 5. Maybe they'll throw in 6 or 7. So you have to really stand out during a video interview during this time in particular, and during any recession, because companies are going to save money from flying people out to a site visit, and they're going to do way more phone screens and way more video interviews during any recession, but especially right now post coronavirus. So one thing that we're going to be covering in detail in the later modules is how to do well during a phone interview, how to not be stressed out like this during a phone interview. How can you prepare? We're going to go beyond the obvious of turning off electronics to actually talking about the different questions you will be asked. We're going to give you a checklist of what you need to do before every phone screen. We're going to show you how to actually encourage an employer or an employee working at a company to help you set up a phone screen. How can you initiate it? We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about the 10 most common phone screen questions. So these questions, they're not common only during phone screens. They're also common during video interviews. We've been collating a list specifically for this program on what questions are asked. Now, we have data all the way back until 2010. So what we've done is we've looked at that data from 2010, 2011, when the recession was still happening, and we looked at how the questions changed. What are the differences in questions in 2010 or during a recession than when things are going well? There's quite a bit of difference. There's more caution in the question. There's a lot more behavioral questions, a lot more questions about how you handle stress. And we're going to talk about those questions. The questions you will be asked are very different now, post-coronavirus, than before it. We're going to talk about video interviews as well. So we're going to talk about how to understand how you're coming off during a video interview. Right? We focus a lot on this. It's like, okay, we look at a computer screen, we see people like this. Of course, they're going to more look like they're in little boxes on a Zoom screen now because nobody's in the same room. They're going to look more like this. And we've had people just in the last couple of weeks, as this recession has started, get on video interviews where they've had like 10 people on and they had no idea there was going to be so many people on. Sometimes you'll have a one-on-one video interview, but many times, especially given the current environment where nobody's in the same office, they'll just invite 3, 4, 5 people on, sometimes 10 people. So how do you navigate this? What if you have 10 people on at an office for an interview? How do you make it look like you're giving people proper eye contact? How do you stay focused so you're looking at the camera versus looking down, or versus having people look up your nostrils, which I've seen way too many people do? How do you navigate this? How do you answer questions? How do you show your engagement without waving your hands in front of it, especially if you have bad bandwidth, which is going to cause buffering and make you freeze? How do you check your audio? How do you, understanding and asking the question of how you're going to be projected? Are you going to be on a huge TV screen in a conference room, right? Or if it's a one-on-one, just ask them what size monitor you're going to have, right? These are questions you can ask that'll help you prepare so you know how you're coming off. We're going to talk about different tips for successful virtual interviewing and successful virtual presentations. You're still going to have to give a presentation to get hired. There are companies that are hiring right now for a lot of the jobs that I'm going to go through here very briefly, and that we'll be talking about in detail later in the program. But it's important for you to know how to properly interview on video and how to properly present on video and how to do it one-on-one versus a panel interview, which we're showing here. How do you navigate a video panel interview? Or, if we're still in the recession, if we're able to get back in the room with people and do a person-to-person panel interview, but we're still in a recession, how do you navigate that? We're going to cover all of this in the program. We're going to cover the do's and the don'ts beyond just the basics, like, of course, smiling, but the things that PhDs often do that ruin their chances of getting hired. You do all of this work, especially during a recession, to get to that interview stage. And then you are negative by your nature because academia has taught you to be critical of information and data, and that's bled over into you being critical of yourself. So you downplay your skills, or you're self-deprecating. This happens a lot. You use passive language, right? You don't take credit for anything. You basically talk them out of giving you a job, or you say yes to everything. I see this a lot from international PhDs too. You just say, yes, I can do that. Yes, no problem. Yes, yes, yes. Don't be a yes person. This is just as bad as downplaying your skills. You have to be even and authentic and on the right, in the center of the spectrum. You got to be logical. You got to be able to disagree or say no at times, or talk about the things you can't do, but talk about what you've done relevant to those things and show them that you're able to leverage one of your most important transferable skills, which we'll discuss later, which is the ability to learn quickly. A know-it-all approach, right? We all know PhDs like this. You can't come off as a know-it-all. You have to be eager to learn. You got to ask questions. especially during virtual interviews. And you can't go on autopilot because you're nervous or scared because you've practiced in your head, but you haven't practiced behaviorally, right? Mock virtual interviews are so crucial. Behavioral practice. That's why they give you behavioral questions, behavioral interview questions, because they want to see how you respond to stress. They want to see your behavior. They don't want to know what you've memorized. You can't come across like a robot or somebody on autopilot. Now, as we wrap up this special keynote, this first module of the program, we have a lot to discuss. We are going to be discussing which jobs are going to plummet for PhDs during this time and which jobs are going to surge. Now, the good news is that many of these jobs that you see here on our Cheeky Scientist career map are surging right now. We've been talking about them for the last couple of weeks. They will stay strong during a recession, and we're going to discuss many of them throughout this new program. One of the biggest ones that's the most exciting for many people and really is the safety net of any PhD. No matter your background as a PhD, you can do two things that other people can't do in the job market, and you can do them very well. You can do research. You can find credible information and data, right? If you're humanities or social sciences, maybe it's information. If you're life sciences, physical sciences, engineer, maybe it's data. It doesn't matter. You can find, you can research, you can collect it very quickly. You can make sure it's credible. You can help fight misinformation. That's the first thing. The second thing is you can analyze that information or data. You can find trends and you can write about it at a high volume. You can write more and better and more credible than anybody else out there. Medical writing jobs, there's like 20 to 30 different types of medical writing jobs under the umbrella of medical writing. It's something that can be done remotely. This is really an incredible safety net for all PhDs during recessions. We're going to be covering that. Data scientist is too. A lot of you don't realize that data science is, there's two different categories and they're evenly split. Half the jobs require maybe programming languages or data mining or modeling. The other half don't. They just require you to be able to do those two things: research, look at the data, and to analyze it. Now, data scientist, analyst positions in general, like operations research analyst, business intelligence analyst, they're booming right now and they will continue to during the recession, because no longer how this coronavirus plays out, data can be analyzed remotely. A lot of the labs are shut down right now, university and industry labs, but there's data, so much data still there, figures that have never been created, papers that have never been written, data that's never been analyzed. So analyst positions are booming. We're going to talk about that too. Application scientist positions are also booming. A lot of marketing communication positions are booming too. It's a position that PhDs can have now. It could be anything like from, we just had somebody get hired at Nestle. In one of our Cheeky Scientist programs. We had somebody get hired at Hilton, Home Depot. Companies of all kinds that used to not hire PhDs are hiring them because you can communicate in a credible fashion, even if it's on that company's social media account. You can help them apply their research, their science, the application part, not the research part. That might be shut down for a while, but the application, the analyst, those jobs are there. User experience researcher or analyst. Not so much the research side, but the analyst positions, analyzing all of that user and customer data that companies have. They are hiring PhDs for this position. R&D jobs, R&D researcher jobs are going to be down for a while, but the analyst jobs are there. QA analyst, QC analyst, those jobs are there too. Medical affairs, regulatory affairs, there's a lot of new laws and regulations being passed right now. These jobs are surging as well. Medical science liaison, this is a surging job. We have programs on this. It's something that we're looking at very closely in terms of which companies are hiring. Medical science liaison jobs for PhDs are through the roof. What they're doing now is instead of the medical science liaisons traveling, they're staying home and they're talking to KOLs by phone virtually, and they're communicating and giving invaluable feedback from clinicians to companies. There are many different jobs that are surging right now. We're going to be going through all of these. More analyst positions: business analyst, competitive intelligence analyst, analysts at VC firms, management consultants, quantitative analysts, on and on. There are many different positions. Throughout this program, we're going to frame all of this, how to get hired during a recession, down to these 4 steps. The way that most PhDs incorrectly put them together, which is shown here. And then we will show you over and over again how to flip these during a recession, how to network virtually, how to get referrals virtually. We'll be talking about that later in the program. How to create a job search strategy, how to actually compile a list of companies and contacts that work at those companies. Here's something very important. Before you go and before we end this session, you must know how companies spend their money during a recession. They do not spend it on hiring. Now, when the hiring market is way up, hiring people becomes more competitive. So, and there's more clients, the economy's booming. So companies spend less on marketing. They spend less on like commercials to their clients, for example, and they spend more on hiring. They spend more on hiring a recruitment firm. They hire internally talent acquisition specialists. They hire hiring managers. They spend a fortune on advertisements on Indeed or different online job boards. But when the hiring market is low, it's not competitive, right? It favors the company, not the job candidate. They stop spending on ads. You're going to see less and less jobs online for two reasons. One, because there's less jobs available, and two, because they don't need to promote them to get hired. They can rely solely on employee referrals, solely on employee referrals. Do you understand? Okay. Instead, they have to spend all of their money on marketing because people aren't spending. The economy's low. So they have to market more commercials, more commercials, more commercials. All of their budget goes there. They don't spend it on job boards. You're not going to see jobs online. You're going to have to get hired through a referral. That's a big part of what we're going to cover in this program that's specific for getting hired in a recession. You have to keep track of your efforts. We're going to show you, we're going to talk about how to find companies that are hiring right now versus those that aren't. How to create a list. This is a job search strategy sheet. Very simple. Cataloging your efforts. Which companies are hiring? What jobs they have open that you'll hear through informational interviews, which we'll cover. How to execute, how to set up and execute a virtual informational interview. Contacts, date, the last time you contacted them, the next time, and so forth. So we have a lot to cover today. I want you to know that the information that you're going to see here during this program as we go through it is highly credible. This is our most recent article in Nature, which talks about my experience during the financial crisis of 2008. So if you haven't read this yet, read it. Why earning a PhD is an advantage. It's still an advantage in today's job market, but the methodology has changed. The context has changed. We're in a recession now. I realized I was valuable in 2008. I was able to get a job afterwards. Cheeky Scientist started in the recession. You can apply these same principles to protect your career, protect yourself from unemployment during this recession. We will be back with the next module. So make sure you stay tuned. Thank you for being here. And we'll be starting at 1 p.m. Eastern time for the second recording of the 5 industry resume types that get an employer's attention during a recession. All right. Hello, everyone. So we just wrapped up the first session. Hopefully you were able to see all that okay. That was quite the session. Wow. It's exciting for me to talk about because I have been through the 2008 financial crisis like a lot of you saw. I'm curious for those of you that are here, what did you think of that session? Let me know if you have questions. I'm going to go through and read some of your questions. So if you just joined, this is what's happening. We're recording a brand new program. Which we're going to sell for around $400 at the end of the day, Thursday. We're going to package all of this together and we're going to sell this program. But because you're a Cheeky Scientist Insider, you're either on our email list or you're a member of one of our programs. Maybe you follow us on social media. Maybe somebody shared this with you, but because of that, you get to watch us create this for free. You get all of the information before anybody else does. And I'm going to be engaging with you in between these sessions on our second view over here so that we can talk in between sessions. The next session starts already in 15 minutes. And it's going to be a busy day today. We have a lot of programs that we'll be recording, a lot of the different modules for this program we're going to be recording. We have James Gould from Harvard Medical School. He's the postdoc director there, who's going to be coming on with us a little bit later today. The next session is going to focus on cover letters and resumes, not just resumes. We're actually going to talk about cover letters, something we rarely do. That'll be a part of this new program. Then we're going to bring James on to talk about the first steps you should take, whether you're a PhD student or a postdoc or already unemployed as a PhD. The first steps you should be taking right now, given the recession. And then we're going to come back and wrap up with a second session this afternoon or this evening, depending on where you're at, talking about resumes as well. So good to see all of you on. So I see Hemant is a postdoc in the EU, approached a few companies, sent out an application. They replied and have canceled all the recruitment process for the next few months. Exactly, because a lot of the recruiters, Hemant, have been let go. They don't have a job anymore. Companies have severed their contracts with recruiters. So the only way you're really going to get hired now is by getting an employee referral, which we're going to be talking a lot about. Good to see so many of you on. Debarashi, Saptaswa, good to see you on. Bashar, Wake Forest. Heather says Wake Forest has announced a hiring freeze. Yeah, this is a very real thing that a lot of us are facing. What else do we have here? So different from the Zoom meetings. Yeah, this is a very special thing we're doing. After a series of meetings and interviews with 2 engineering companies, I was promised to receive a complete offer with details last week, but both of them said they're hiring freeze nationally. Exactly. Which is unfortunate, definitely unfortunate. Sorry to hear that, but that's why you're here. So that's why we wanted you as a Cheeky insider to be able to get the up-to-date information on what you can do about your career, Bashar. Lots of additional details to come. Now, you know that we're recording this program over the next 3 days, 3 days. And at the end of it, we're going to package it together and we're going to sell it as a new program. It's going to be called something to the effect of get hired during a recession. It's the methodology, like I was saying during the live part of the program, or during the recorded part of the program, is that you can't apply the same methodology when the hiring market is up that when the hiring market is down. And that's an important lesson that we'll be coming back to over and over and over again. Delia, good to see you on. No, this is a live stream. This is only posted here. This is only going to be live here. DePonchi says, great keynote. Great. I'm glad you liked it. Thank you very much. Good to see so many of you on. I don't know how. Wow, let's see if I can, is that the bottom? Dignesh, good to see you on. Thank you for your honesty. Says there's a hiring freeze in my company and I'm on the verge of losing a job. I'm sorry to hear that. And that's something else that we're going to be talking about too, how to ensure you don't lose your job, or how to take steps to show the company your value, how to be flexible, how to talk to them and let them know that you can give them whatever they need remotely, how to maybe shift into a remote role at a company in a different department. Right now, companies, they need a way to get their message out through marketing. If there are marketing positions or Marcom or medical writing positions, et cetera, a lot of you might want to think of shifting into those roles, talking with your employer, if you currently have a job, about what might be available. Nilesh says, I just got my termination notice from the university. I'm sorry to hear that, Nilesh. It's one of the reasons that we wanted to do this. And I appreciate you sharing. Sometimes we present stuff and a lot of PhDs think, well, this isn't going to happen to me. It can't happen. There's no way they're going to terminate me at a university, but it absolutely is happening. David, good example that there is still, hiring still going to happen. It might be the process is going to be changed to virtually. We're still seeing a lot of PhDs get hired, but we're seeing them more in the medical writing and more in the analyst roles, more in the medical science liaison roles. So that's a key difference. We do have a couple of things that we want to give you. For those of you who maybe this is the first time you're joining us, I want to ask you, if you know other people that are home remotely, other PhDs, maybe people that have never heard of Cheeky Scientist or our program, send them this link. Let's help other PhDs. That's what we're doing. That's why we're letting you all see us create this brand new program instead of filming it in secret and then launching it for $400. We wanted to tell you up front that we're filming this and we're going to be selling it for $400, but you can watch it for free. So I want you to do me a favor and copy and paste the URL, cheekyscientist.com/live-stream. Share it on social media with the hashtag CS Live, whether it's Twitter, somewhere else. We'll give away some gifts to those who use the hashtags, whether it's on Twitter or elsewhere. If we can find you, that just helps us find you. We don't care if we get anything trending or not. We just want to be able to find you for doing that. And then share it with your friends. whether you have a separate group that's different than Cheeky Scientist, or you have someone you want to just send it to them by email, this is going to be live. One of these two cameras is going to be on live until, I don't know, the next 3 hours or so. I mean, I might have to show, some best of footage or whatever if I need to take a quick break, but this will be on in between sessions, and then I'll be doing the program live, and we'll just get to hang out here. But I want you to share it with other PhDs so that we can help them. And I'm going to have, and Lisa's here helping us in the group as well. And she's going to, I think I can comment. Somebody's asking the hashtag. It's, let's see if I can comment. Yeah, Lisa, it's pound CS live, pound CS live. Maybe we should change it though. No, let's just do it out. I should have put PhD in it though. Maybe you can come up with other hashtags too. It's not so much about the hashtag as long as we can find you. This is a completely separate program. For those of you that are saying, hey, I'm a member of a program, this is a completely separate program that we're creating. And we're going to be selling it for about $400, how to get hired during a recession. You can see that a lot of work goes into this. This is just the beginning, but because you're here, because you're an insider, whether you're a member, subscriber, et cetera, you get to see us create it live. The agenda is on this page. How many of you have downloaded the agenda? You can get the agenda by going up and just clicking download the agenda. It'll take you to a different page where you just enter your details and download that. Lisa, I don't know if we have yet, but we might want to update that page. It was the page for it was the VIP page. We might want to update it to just say, download the agenda or something a little bit more clearly, not urgent, but that might be helpful. Get the agenda. For those of you that are maybe joining us for the first time, you can get our free resume ebook too. I think maybe we did talk a lot about behavioral interviewing, Lisa. Maybe we can put a ManyChat link in this chat box for people to get our behavioral interview guide. Do some of you want to get our behavioral interview guide? We can give you that for free because you're here in between with us hanging out. If you don't have our behavioral interview guide, we'll send that to you. We'll put that in the chat box. It's just a URL, and we'll deliver it to you by Facebook Messenger. So Lisa will get that prepared, and we'll put that in the chat box, and you can download that. That's going to come in really handy for our sessions tomorrow and the next day. So we're recording this for 3 days. Who else does that? Who else can do that? We're recording for 3 days, and you get to be here with us, hanging out in between. By the way, is this a funny mug? My team got me this, and I don't think they were serious when they got it for me. I think it was sarcasm, but I still use it to drink coffee out of. Yeah. What did you all think of that first session? What did you think of it? I didn't want to make it too like doom and gloom, but I definitely wanted to show the data. I think people they're not paying nearly enough attention to the unemployment numbers and how it's going to continue to affect the economy. For those of you that were here at the beginning, did you understand what I was saying by the financial markets going down and then continuing to go down after the government relief? Everybody doesn't know why that happens, but it's because all the unemployment numbers start to come out next, and then the GDP goes down and things get worse. So it's going to get a lot worse for about 6 more months, and we're going to be in a recession for at least 2 years. And that's what I'm trying to prepare you for. And like Paul said, exactly, accepting it's the first step forward. And so Lisa, if you can put that, I think we can put a link in here, can't we? If you can put that ManyChat link in here. Thank you, Vijayeta. I appreciate that. You said doom and gloom, but realistic, left with hope. Yeah, there is opportunity here. And I can tell you some of these sectors, like I was talking about, like analyst positions, medical writing positions, they are surging. MSL positions, we just had somebody get hired as a medical writer 2 days ago. So it's going to be rough for a lot of the economy. And what I want you to know is what I wish I knew in 2008. How many of you remember? Do any of you remember? You may need to copy the link text and add it to your browser. Lisa, are you talking about the ManyChat link? I think we can just put the ManyChat link. Lisa, I think we can just put the ManyChat link in the YouTube chat box, right? Let me know if not. We got about 5 minutes until the next session stuff. Oh, it doesn't hyperlink. Well, I wonder what we could, oh, you know what we could do? Why don't we have Jeffrey create a, maybe we can just create a URL that's easy to say, like cheekyscientist.com/gift. Maybe have him create that URL, and then we can just direct it to different free things throughout the session here. That might be a good way. So we can do that, Lisa, but it's not urgent. Anybody have any questions? Oh yeah, DePonch89, whoever that is, basic cash flow, but for the country economy. This is what I've been telling people. So there's a saying in business, in any industry, that if you have low profits, it's like a cancer to a business. You can turn things around. It's slow and it's bad, but it's slower. But if you have a cash flow stop, it's like a heart attack. The business will stop automatically. And most data shows that a lot of businesses, especially the ones that have less than 500 employees, which is like 70% of most economies, they have like 27 days of cash saved up. So that's like 27 days of cash flow. So if cash flow stops, they can survive 27 days. We're already past that. So this is like cash flow stopping for entire countries. And it's why you're seeing unemployment rates at a drastic level that hasn't been accounted for. So Q1, which is the first 3 months of a year, is over today. So you're going to see a lot of new data out tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the financial markets crash then. And then as jobs continue to go down over the next quarter, we're going to probably hit rock bottom at the end of Q2. And then the hiring market's going to be depressed for a couple of years. Now, knowing that isn't scary. It just means that you actually have to come to things like this and learn what to do. You actually have to update your resume. You can't just walk out to the street and get offered a job anymore. You can't just post your resume online and get a job anymore. You have to get employee referrals. And this is where your network really matters. And this is a big reason that we're filming this brand new program. And it's a big reason that we are giving all of you as insiders, whether you are members or subscribers, et cetera, access behind the scenes to us creating this program. Abby says, on the news, I keep reading that this is the market for PhD, that post-COVID market's focused on getting PhDs, researchers. Absolutely true. If anything, this is a very exciting time for PhDs, but only for PhDs who know how to get a job in industry, okay? Because what I said at the end of that first session, companies they're not going to spend on hiring. They don't have to. The supply is higher than the demand. So they don't have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars posting jobs online, hiring recruiters, talent acquisition specialists, et cetera. Instead, they're going to have their pick of candidates, and they're going to put all of their money into marketing because they have to get the awareness of their products and services out to clients, to people to pay, because fewer people are spending money. So what it means for you is you have to follow our methodology that we're going to be going through here on getting employee referrals, getting to know people working at those companies who can refer you. That's how the hiring is going to be done. It's the same when we first started in 2010. That's why we've been so successful, is because we've built our methodology on the foundation of referrals and pre-made job referral networks. Like a lot of our programs all of our programs have a pre-made job referral network as part of them. And that's really the reason why. But yeah, you're going to see a boom. People right now, they're very aware of what happens if you ignore the data, right? If you don't have credible information, if you don't have good researchers, they know that there's a market opportunity that there's going to be a boom in terms of antivirals. There's going to be a boom in terms of infectious diseases, in terms of research in general and data in general. This is very good for you PhDs. So there will be, overall, the economy is going to go down, but there will be growth, just like there was in 2010 in STEM, especially. But even if you're a social scientist, humanities, et cetera, because you can do research and analysis, even if it's research and analysis of information over data, it makes you highly valuable. Session pass. Yeah, you're here at the all session pass. Delia Lopez. It means that you get to be here with me in between the sessions, and you get to come to all the sessions. So you have access to this link because you are a member or an email subscriber, social media, or because you had a friend who's a member share this with you. So we're about to get started for this next session. If you enjoyed that first one, do me a favor. and share this URL that you're watching this on, cheekyscientist.com/live-stream, with a friend, a PhD who is likely struggling. Maybe they're unemployed. Maybe they are a postdoc, a grad student, anybody that you think could find some value in this. Don't just keep it for yourself, share it. This is a way that we can all help each other. It's why we decided to share this with you for free instead of just recording this like all of our other programs in private. If you're just joining us, we're recording a brand new program on how to get hired during a recession, which we're going to sell for about $400 afterwards. But because you're here, you get to see us film it for free. The agenda is above. It's on the page, cheekyscientist.com/live-stream. It's right below the video box. If you click the button, download agenda, and you put your name and information on that page, you can download a PDF of the agenda. I really want people to be able to do that. And it looks like, wow, we're already at the top of the hour here. I'm going to get a couple things set up, and then we're going to go turn over to the other camera and go live here. Be going live in just a second. Just communicating with my team there. All right, how can we get the behavioral interview guide? Yeah, so we can't share URLs in the chat box. I'm wondering what would be the easiest way? Where could we put that? You know where we'll put it. How about this? Do you know where our Facebook page is? Lisa, why don't we put the ManyChat link on our Facebook page? Just pin it to the top of our Facebook page. So all you have to do is go to Cheeky Scientist Facebook, just Google that, or Google Facebook Cheeky Scientist. You're going to look for our fan page. Just go to the actual profile page, and then whatever's pinned, then we'll just pin different things at the top. We'll go ahead and pin that URL there. That'll take you to a page where you can get our behavioral interviewing guide. I think that's the only way that we can get it to you for free. Pompaya, why don't you have your cousin come to this and see if it's useful? Give your cousin the link to this URL. We want to help as many people as we can. Karen said in 2008, I remember that NASA took away grants they had already given the money out for. This is something I mean, how many of you are still in academia that you're watching live? And if you're here, you're just watching behind the scenes. If you just joined, we're about to go live with the next session, which is the 5 industry resume types that get employers' attention, which I'm very excited for. But we're just doing a little bit of a Q&A here in between. And yeah, lots to cover. It's going to be a lot of presenting today. You're welcome, Abby, for addressing this. One of the most difficult things to answer is get a message on LinkedIn. We're going to be covering LinkedIn tomorrow, so make sure you tune in tomorrow. Virginia, you got the link on Facebook. Good job. Okay, so it's on. If you go to our Facebook page, that's where we're going to put some of our free giveaways. If you haven't downloaded our agenda yet, definitely get that. Don't forget too that you can go to, you can get our resume guidebook above, which is going to come in really handy. We recently updated that. There's a button underneath the video above that says free resume guidebook. You can grab that if you want to. And we're going to switch the camera stream over, and we're going to get started on the second session. So I'll see you guys back here right after this session. This one's a little bit longer, probably go for about 45 minutes. Thanks for hanging out with us. This one is, remember, there's no recording of this, so stay tuned for this. There's a lot of new stuff. We're actually covering cover letters, which for most of you, I don't think you've ever seen me cover. This is a brand new program that we are recording. It's going to record over the next 3 days. We're recording it live here with you. We're going to sell it for about $400 afterwards, but you are an insider, so you get to see it for free. And with that, I'm going to switch the cameras over. There'll be a few second delay. Stay where you are, and then I'll be back on and filming the program. And then I'll see you back here to talk a little bit more about this session, this module afterwards. All right, so we'll get set up here, and I'll see you soon. Hello and welcome to the second module of this special program on getting hired as a PhD during a recession. This is the 5 industry resume types that get an employer's attention. So post-coronavirus, we discussed in the previous modules that we are in fact in a recession. So it's very important for you to understand that during a recession, the methodology is very different than maybe what you've experienced previously. So previously when the hiring markets are up, things are quite a bit different. So we're gonna be talking about that, and we're just gonna make sure that we still have the live stream active here. So good to see all of you on. We're gonna check our feed here real quick. I think we're back. 1 second here. And all right, afterwards. And let's our special program on how to get hired during a recession. Industry resume types that get an employer's attention. Now, coronavirus, things are recession. The methodology for getting hired is very different. You can't rely on resumes the same way that you used to. Now, the best way to think about it is a good resume, it can prevent you from getting hired. I think the best way that a good resume is not enough to get you hired, but a bad resume keeps you from getting hired. And that is definitely true. In a recession, your resume is something that you need to be able to give to an employer, but very likely you'll be giving it to an employee working at a company first as part of a job referral after an informational interview, and then they'll give that resume to a hiring manager. As we talked about in the previous modules, a lot of companies during a recession, they will cut their contracts with recruiters. They will cut their contracts with different job boards. They're not going to spend tens of thousands, in some cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars advertising jobs. They don't have to. The supply of job candidates is much higher than the demand for jobs. You got to get that into your head. You got to understand what that means. Okay? It means that you can't just upload a resume and get a call back. You're not going to have 3 or 4 different jobs to negotiate from. You're not going to have the intense demand for job candidates that you just had even a couple of months ago. Okay, so you're going to have to take this resume information in stride. You're going to have to target every individual resume per position. You're going to have to use the right resume, one of these 5 resumes, at the right time for the right position. And so that's what we're going to be discussing here. Now, we've been showing this data for a few months now, and it's really important if you haven't seen it. Results, quantified results on your resume matter, even more so during a recession. They want to know you've accomplished something. So this is from our friends at TalentWorks, showing that if you use concrete numbers, you can increase your hireability by 40%. 40%. Okay, that's not a small amount. So what they looked at is they looked at different resumes, and they did this on the scale of thousands. They looked at different resumes that had quantified results, as in a numerical value, like resulting in 3 publications, resulting in $250,000 of grant funding, et cetera. So with the actual number, the numerical value, the more numerical values on the resume, the more likely they were to get a phone screen, a call for an interview. Okay, the same with the rest of this data as well. Adding industry buzzwords increases your hireability by 29%. 29%. Okay, so what's a buzzword? In this case, in the study, it's a transferable skill. It's a transferable skill. Okay. And I'm realizing now that we might have, we're working with our editors here to get the stream working a bit better. We'll make sure that things are still streaming okay. We're just working with our editors here. We're gonna have to start from the top a few times because there seems to be a little bit of freezing. Just wanna make sure that it's not freezing here. I'm gonna check in at the chat box, and then we're gonna start from the top of this slide. This is what happens when you get to be here live for a live stream. Just type in hello in the box if you can still see us and hear us. If we're not freezing too bad there, let me know. And we can always reboot the live stream if we need to. If it's frozen, just type in hello if you would. Okay, so are you guys saying hello to me, Nicolette? It's working now. Okay. So because of the bandwidth issues that the world is experiencing, if something freezes, I will check in with you and then we'll just start recording from the top. So you don't have to go anywhere. Worst case, we will just stop the live stream and then reboot it. But this page is always where everything is going to be streamed at. And it looks like it's working now. So we're going to start from the top here. Likewise, this data shows that adding industry buzzwords increases your hireability by 29%. Now, a buzzword in this case is a transferable skill, a word that buzzes in a specific industry, right? So an industry-specific transferable skill is what a buzzword is. Where do you find industry-specific transferable skills for a certain job? On the job posting, or in a recession, more likely during an informational interview with an employee. Now, it's important to show you this because I think a lot of us as PhDs, I certainly was during the recession in 2008, I was told, well, there was a lot of like panic and fear-based, non-scientific advice like, oh, you have to say that you're a team player, okay? You have to tell them that you're not just an independent PhD. They're not worried about that. They don't even like it if you're a team player. When people put team player, what they think is, oh, this is somebody that's going to have everybody else do the work and they're not going to be able to work individually. Okay. So they don't want to see team player. In fact, putting team player, or another one is enthusiastic, on your resume over and over reduces your chances of getting a phone screen. Reduces your chances of getting a phone screen. Now, how about this? Now, a lot of people do not realize that the day in which you apply matters. Okay, so if you're setting up your informational interviews on Monday, you're more likely to have your resume passed on. You're more likely to get a phone screen. If you give your resume to a hiring manager on a Monday, you're much more likely to get a phone screen. Okay, the worst day is obviously Friday. People are checked out on the weekends, so you definitely don't want to do that. I think you'd be surprised to see that a lot of people will take your resume on Sundays. Now, some of this has to do with time zone, right? You're like, why is Sunday so high? Because this might be Monday for other people. So it obviously depends on the time zone for where you're applying. This is a diagram or a snapshot of a type of applicant tracking system software. Okay, it's called ATS, Applicant Tracking System Software. Now, there's hundreds of different types of software. Collectively, they're known as AI, right? Artificial intelligence. So they're known as AI within the hiring industry. So companies, especially during recessions, this is what they rely on. They're not hiring as much, right? They don't have the man or woman power or the staff or person power to be able to go through as many resumes by hand. So instead, they just put up something on their website to collect resumes, and then they'll weed most of them out using this AI or this ATS software. They look, and the metrics here, it can be anything. There could be the salary expectations that you put in with your resume. It could be the keywords on your resume. It could be the gaps on your resume. It doesn't matter. The point is, you don't know what the metrics are. You have a pretty good idea. And later in the program, we'll talk about what these metrics might be. But it's important for you to know that you don't know what the metrics are. So if you're just uploading your resume online during a recession, you're not going to get hired. Now, when hiring was through the roof at the lowest unemployment levels ever just a couple months ago, you could upload resumes and probably get a call back. Now you cannot. You cannot. Okay? It's going to change things dramatically. You have to start networking with people working in industry. You have to get access to a network of people, a job referral network, so you can set up informational interviews, so you can give your resume directly, through a direct email to an employee working at that company, or ask them to pass it on to the hiring manager. So it's just important for you to know you can't put all your hopes, your career hopes, into uploading resumes anymore. And going back to what we brought up in module 1, this is the incorrect job search workflow. Okay, this is the incorrect job search workflow. This is where most of us are. We, as PhDs, we're a little bit introverted. We have no problem being behind a computer screen. We like to write anyway. It's one of our key transferable skills. We can produce a large volume of very credible content. A resume is easy for us to write. We're used to writing 10-page CVs. In industry, it's a 1 or 2 page resume. So we write these and we upload them. We're like, oh, I did something for my my career today, I uploaded a resume, but then you don't hear anything back. And during a recession, you're not going to get hired. It's one of the reasons that Monster.com, which used to be owned by Monster Worldwide, its stock ended up crashing during the recession when you think it would be booming, and it actually had to sell to another company because nobody was hiring through job boards. It was all through word of mouth. Now, again, think about how counterintuitive that is. Monster.com still exists. It's owned by a different company. It's a recruiting holding company that owns it now. But that company's stock crashed during a recession. You thought it would skyrocket because everybody would need jobs. The problem is they were just a job board. And during recessions, people don't get hired on a job board. You have to get an employee referral. So you have to flip this around. And as much as you might hate it, you have to start networking. You have to get access to networks. You have to interact with employees working at companies. You have to set up informational interviews. You got to get inside information. Part of this program is to help you get that inside information. You have to have a strategy. You can't go after 1 or 2 job leads anymore. You have to go after 30, 40, 50 different job leads to get hired. Getting interviews, preparing for interviews, writing your resumes. Okay. You have to flip this on its head, right? You have to flip this, what you're used to. You could maybe get away with this when hiring is the highest it's ever been, but now during a recession, this is the workflow you must follow. Now, understand that even if an employer gets your resume, and this doesn't change much, this is always the case. Most employers, most hiring managers don't have a PhD. They don't like reading. Okay. They're going to skim your resume for 5 to 7 seconds. Most of that time is spent in the visual center, the top 1/3 of the resume. Their eyes will pause on numbers. Eye tracking studies show this, which we'll cover in a minute. And that's all the time that they'll spend on it. And if you take a bunch of eye tracking studies, which individually they look like this, if you take thousands of these and lay them on top of each other, it forms an F shape where the top vertical bar is in that visual center, the top 1/3 of the resume. That's the top, horizontal bar. Let me take that from the top. The top horizontal bar where they're skimming across left to right first, that's in the visual center, the top 1/3 of the resume. The vertical bar, it's on the left side. And then they'll usually pause a little bit at the bottom, but then they'll go back up to the middle and skim across. This is where they usually will see your job titles, which is why if you don't have industry experience, you can really struggle here. So this is what it looks like for an actual result from one of these eye tracking studies. It's also important for you to know that they stop looking at resumes. Employers, now this is when hiring is up. It's 10 to 25%. It can sink below 10% during a recession. They're not going to have to read as many resumes. Okay. You must understand this. Your resume is not your safety net anymore. Okay. Your safety net is the information we're going to be talking about through this in terms of how to set up virtual informational interviews, how to network virtually, virtual interviews, virtual presentations, all of the things this program is going to cover. Now, there was a time when you could just go on Indeed maybe and find jobs or Nature Jobs, but even when hiring is up, it's hard to find PhD level jobs here. Something you must do during a recession. This used to be a nice to have. It's a must have now, is you must set up a Google alert. So if you go to google.com/alerts, you'll see a box like this where you can set up a Google alert, set up an alert for every company you're interested in working in, every job title you're interested in, and for yourself. I recommend that because it's good to know what's being posted about you in case something from social media or otherwise gets posted when you're in the middle of a job search. Now, this is all you need to do in terms of, you don't need to scan job boards anymore once you do this. If they happen to post about a job opening up online, or if there's information from other media about changes in the job market relating to these jobs you're interested in, it'll show up in your Google inbox, in your email inbox, because of this alert at like 5 a.m. I think you can change the time. Now, I do recommend you put the word analyst here. Put the word analyst here. There's going to be a lot of analyst jobs. Expand your job search. I would also put the word remote analyst there as well, or contract analyst. This is like a fail safe. This is a safety net for a lot of you. If you're open to it, I'd recommend medical writing. This is something that any PhD of any background can do, and those jobs are skyrocketing. Then other than that, just choose the jobs you're specifically interested in. Later on in the program, one of the last sessions, we'll be discussing in detail the jobs that are surging. Only 20% of available jobs are posted online, and of those, 10% are internally filed before posting, excuse me, internally filled before posting. Now, this is when the hiring market is normal. Only 20% of jobs are posted. So you're going to see it drop to below 10%. So let's say 10% of the jobs available are posted, and then half of them are already filled internally. So even during recessions, governments in most countries require large publicly traded companies to post available jobs online, even if they've already filled them. All right. So I used to not know this. And so I'd see a job online during the 2008 financial crisis. And I was like, oh, this job's perfect for me. And I'd spend all this time applying for it. And I didn't realize that very likely, especially if it was a job posted by a big company, the publicly traded company, you know, like a Pfizer, an Apple, or an Amazon, et cetera, they had already filled it internally, because during a recession, most jobs are filled through those internal employee referrals, but they just had to post it online because it was a government regulation. Let that sink in. Now, when it comes to resumes, if this is your first time learning how to create an industry resume, and it very may well be for those of you that have experienced a spending freeze or hiring freeze, you got let go of your academic institution before you were ready, you have to realize that it's not the same as an academic CV. Now, whether your country calls it an industry resume or an industry CV, it should be 2 pages maximum. And we're going to go through the 5 types of resumes that'll work for you during this recession at the end of this. All right. So the difference between the left and the right resume, and I'm only showing this for one reason, is that, we're going to have to adjust this slide afterwards before the final program is released to have this say after. Just a note for the editors. Let's take it from the top. So just between these, the only reason that we're showing these 2 resumes is because this after one has a lot more of one thing: white space. Realize again, the hiring managers, the people reading resumes don't have PhDs. They do not like to read lots of content. If they see big blocks of text, nothing's going to stick out at them when they skim it. Also, when people skim a resume, when they skim any document, they don't read it carefully from left to right. They're skimming it. So when they skim from top to bottom, which is why you want to indent things towards the center, at least a little bit. Those indents are crucial. It helps them take in more information. Now, this is a gold standard resume template. Time and time again, this template has proven to be the most successful for getting PhDs hired. This template was originated during the recession after 2008. So this template in 2010, we've tweaked it probably 30 different times since then, but still it's our 2-page template. It's the first of the templates that we're going to talk about today. It works the best. And you can see here in terms of the formatting in the visual center, the top 1/3, this is a crucial section. Those eye tracking studies show that 80% of the employer's time will be spent right here in the top 1/3 of their eyes will be here 80% of the time, then they'll quickly skim the rest of it. Applicant tracking system software, which we talked about, 80% of the keyword strength is in this top 1/3. Do you know what that means? This section, your professional summary, is crucial. Your 3 biggest career highlights need to go here. Now, during a later module, we're going to talk specifically about how to, in detail, create bullet points that really stick out, especially in terms of transferable skills. That session's coming later. Your work experience is next. You should have at least 2 to 3, even if your work experience is just postdoctoral fellow or PhD student. Then your education, right? A lot of people put their education at the top. Do not do this. 2nd page. Then your technique, software, instrumentation. This can just be called your technical skills. That's where you list any instruments, software, reagents, foreign languages, certifications that you have. And then finally, awards, affiliations, and hobbies at the end. Try to have the last thing, something that's different than your STEM background, different than your PhD background, something that humanizes you for the hiring manager that reads this, something that has mass appeal, like you like arts and crafts, you have a hobby, a sport, you volunteer to help coach something. Very, very important. Now, when we look at this, this is just for formatting purposes, right? But what do each of these bullet points have in it? We have a bullet point strategy for all of these resumes. It's a 3-part bullet point strategy that was innovated by cheeky scientists that has helped more PhDs get hired in the last 10 years than anybody would have ever imagined, because PhDs have the mistake of sinking to the level of their training during job search events. And what I mean by that is all our training as PhDs is focused on our technical skills or our domain knowledge as a PhD. We forget over time that nobody else thinks of the world in such specific terms. The only people studying your expertise in academia, your niche expertise at the level that you are like the 5 people on your thesis committee, or if you're a postdoc, maybe a couple people in your lab, and that's it. You have to zoom out and focus on the transferable skills that hiring managers actually care about. This gets their attention, and it's why you start every bullet point with a transferable skill. And you end it with a quantified result. We showed that data where concrete numbers increase your chances dramatically of getting a phone screen. And then you sandwich them together with your technical expertise. Now, this is the opposite of what most PhDs do. Most PhDs just talk about their job duties, their years of experience. Please note the numerical value of your years of experience do not count as a result. When people put 15 years of experience, the first question you're going to get is, so what? What did you achieve during those 15 years? So I would not even put the number of years of experience that you have. I'd put the results you've achieved. All right. So if we look at this a different way, it's important for you to know, and we'll be talking about transferable skills in a later module, a later session. The transferable skills have been shown by numerous studies of employers, Fortune 500 employers or Fortune 1000, the global 200, whatever category you want to look at. They show over and over again that the transferable skills, and again, we'll have a session on this later, but by transferable skills, I mean research. A lot of PhDs don't even think to put the fact that they can do research on their resume. Analysis, time management, project management. There's a whole list of these that we think are too simple, right? We like to talk in terms of complex technical skills, but what employers care about the most, especially during recessions, are your transferable skills, your ability to get things done with other people, manage time, manage budgets, manage projects. And that's what they're looking for. Hiring managers, especially who have no technical expertise, are looking to this first. And that's why it's number 1. And then they look for motivation and strategic planning as well. And so the way you want to structure your bullet points is start every bullet point with a transferable skill, leadership skills, right? End it with a quantified result, resulting in 8 publications and $250,000 in lab grant funding, and then sandwich that technical expertise in the middle. You must do this. And we're going to cover bullet points during our second resume module coming up later. And just a few quick examples so we can bring things together here. If you're looking at a bullet point, let's say this is your professional summary. This is an ideal professional summary, right? So you have a transferable skill at the beginning, leadership skills, knowledgeable innovator, excellent relationship builder, right? And they sound so simple, right? But that's the crucial skills that they care about. So they go, oh, this person gets it. They understand the importance of not just some obscure technical knowledge, right? You really want to put the fact that because you spent 2 years learning how to do chromatography or whatever it might be, or some special software modeling. The hiring managers that's making the decisions here, they don't know what that is, right? You should include it so that when your resume gets passed on to the person directing the department or whoever you're going to be directly reporting to, so the information's there, but you want to capture the hiring managers, the gatekeepers' attention with those transferable skills. Then you end it in your quantified results, 8 publications and $250,000 in lab grant funding, as evidenced by 3 patents, right? 2 new medical treatments, as demonstrated by the optimization of 9 different nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy methodologies, right? So methodologies are quantified results, collaborations are quantified results, and grant funding. Even if you're in a lab that has grant funding, count it, because it shows that you understand that that's a result and that you have results. A lot of PhDs struggle to come up with numerical results. So we have a list here for you: number of publications, number of presentations, number of collaborations, number of optimized or innovative methodologies, number of discoveries, number of patents, number of grants, number of grant funding. Now, if you do not have industry experience, you can turn your resume into a functional resume. So what you're essentially doing is you're changing the chronological format of your work experience, which likely looks something like this, right? Like graduate research assistant or postdoctoral fellow, or maybe you have them switched. and change it to a functional format. A functional resume has been around for decades. Was specifically designed for people that don't have a lot of industry experience. And it's the second template that I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you all 5 templates together at the end. But a lot of the people watching this program will recognize this work experience and they say, hey, that's similar to my work experience. No industry experience whatsoever, just academic job titles. And did you know that if you only have academic job titles on your resume, you will 100% be weeded out by applicant tracking system software, and your resume will be tossed aside by any hiring manager reading it because they don't understand academic job titles. They might not even understand why you have multiple universities as an employer. Seriously, we're talking about people that maybe went to college, undergrad, and then have been in industry for like 20 years. And they're like, why are all these universities listed here? I know it might seem hard to get yourself in the mindset of a non-PhD hiring manager, somebody who maybe has a bachelor's at the most, but that's how you have to see it. The applicant tracking system software will automatically weed you out because it sees this pulled out. The AI is smart enough to know that, wait, this font is bigger, it's bolded, this must be important. And so it takes this keyword, it goes against its database, it can't find that keyword in its database, and so it can't find it, there's no match, and so it weeds it out. It grays it out, nobody ever sees it. So try this functional format instead for your work experience section. Watch how this changes as I flip the slide over. So you can see here that instead of putting graduate research assistant, you take one of the skills that you learned when you were a postdoctoral fellow. We're switching it here. So instead of putting postdoctoral researcher up here, you're taking one of the skills you learned as a postdoctoral researcher, one that's relevant to the job you're applying to, and you pull it out to the top. In the same vein, you take one of the skills, in this case, a transferable skill. Now, these can be the technical or transferable skills that are crucial for the role you're applying to. You pull out that skill that you gained as a graduate research assistant, you make that bold. This has a dramatic effect on the number of callbacks you will get if you have no industry experience, because the applicant tracking system software recognizes these skills. And so you make it through, you're not filtered out. The hiring manager skims through and they see these skills and now they have a reason to read more. Whereas if they just saw postdoc or graduate research assistant, they won't read more, they're not intrigued. Now they're like, oh, they have these skills that I need, they'll read more. And this becomes an afterthought. The information's still there, so you're not hiding anything. It just says gained as a postdoctoral researcher or gained as a graduate research student. Information's there, but it's an afterthought instead of the lead. That's the difference. Now, your resume needs to have keywords from a job posting on it. This can be difficult during a recession. I'm still going to show you how to do this because it can be useful. During a recession, you may not be able to find the exact job posting, but you can set up an informational interview and take notes from the person you're interviewing and get an idea of the skills that are required for the job. One of the most important questions to ask on a virtual informational interview is what skills are important for working at this company? What skills are valued at this company? And don't worry, we're going to cover that later in the program. But to make your resume optimized, to at least give it a chance to get through applicant tracking system software, to get through the hiring manager to the next stage, to get a callback, go to the job posting if there is one, and you'll copy and paste all of the information from the job posting and put it into a word cloud. So a word cloud, what does that do? There's a lot of free word clouds, wordcloud.com, world.com, etc. The word cloud will take that information from the job posting and it will take all the transferable skills and technical skills that are mentioned the most, and it will make those words the largest. So essentially, you've just hacked into the applicant tracking system software. You take the biggest skills, right? Like literally the biggest skills from the word cloud, the ones that are mentioned the most, and you put them on your resume. Now, you can do the same thing for an informational interview. You might want to take handwritten notes, or if it's a virtual informational interview, you could maybe record it, get a transcript, then take that content, put it into a word cloud. That's a great way to hack the system. So let's go through the 5 resume formats that you need to know and understand in order to get hired during a recession, and when you should use which resume. So we've shown this already. This is the gold standard. When in doubt, use the gold standard resume template. 2 pages. It's short enough so the employer says, okay, this person knows how to apply for a job in industry. It's a short resume, but it's long enough so there's enough information on there so they feel like a sense of completion, like it's robust enough. It has your 3 biggest accomplishments in the professional summary, your work experience in chronological order, and then it has your education, technical skills, affiliations, and hobbies. Now, the second one is the functional format, which we just talked about. It's just like the gold standard template, except in the work experience, instead of being chronological order, it's by function. It's a functional format where you're taking the most relevant technical and transferable skills and you're bolding those. I bolded them here only to show here what the changes were. You don't have to bold these on the actual resume. Transferable or technical skill at the top, and then gained as a graduate research assistant at this university or gained as a postdoctoral fellow. So that's the only difference. Everything else is the same. You have your professional summary above it, your education, technical skills, affiliations, hobbies, etc. below it, but it's functional in the middle. Now, the third one that we haven't shown yet, this is skyrocketing. This one and the fourth one and the fifth one are becoming increasingly popular. Now, if you're dealing with a recruiter, this was skyrocketing before the coronavirus. It's still good to have in your arsenal, in your toolkit, but it's more important when hiring is up because recruiters are hired by companies to handle the overflow that they have in terms of need of job candidates. Let me repeat that. Pre-coronavirus, when hiring was at the highest levels ever, when unemployment was at the lowest levels in a long time, companies would hire external recruitment companies or they would hire more talent acquisition specialists to help with the need that they had of the undersupply of job candidates. So they have to hire people to go out and find candidates. That's not happening now in the recession. So this becomes less important, but just in case, there's going to be some recruiters out there in industries that are skyrocketing or surging like medical writers or MSLs. It's important for you to know that the technical skills should be taken to the top because an employer, a hiring manager will make a list of technical skills that the job candidate needs. Usually they'll just give that technical skill list and a short brief, a description of the job to the recruiter. And the recruiter doesn't know A from B. They're going after like hundreds of candidates for different jobs. So they'll just look at that technical skill list and just try to match it to your resume. So just pull that technical skill list up to the top. That's the only difference. Now, this is a crucial resume for a recession. Number 5 is too, but this is probably the most important. This is so important that we've been talking about it now for a few weeks. And we've been going through it over and over again. And I want to go through it here in this program. And it's just a subtle shift in terms of making it even more specific for the job that you're applying to, right? The other resumes are not enough during a recession. You really have to make yourself stand out for that specific job. Every resume needs to be targeted to one position. And in this resume, it's called a combination format because it's really a combination of a lot of different types of resumes. It's always been known as a combination format. It just means that you take the key industry skills for that job and you pull them out to the top underneath your professional summary. So you still have your 3 biggest career highlights in the professional summary, which all should be relevant to the one job you're applying to. But below that, you have all of your other key industry skills. This is where you can talk about in a single sentence the results you've achieved with a given skill that they say that they need for that position, or a relevant skill. Relevant should be your favorite word with your resume. If you don't have the exact skill they're asking for, talk about the relevant skills that you have. Choose the top 5 skills. The top 5 skills that you haven't already mentioned in your professional summary. Write a sentence about how you used that skill that they're looking for to achieve a result. Again, write a sentence about how you've used a skill that they're looking for to achieve a result. 5 of those at the top. That's your combination format. Now, number 5, this is the ideal resume to use if you can get your resume onto one page, and if you're applying for positions where communication is really important. Now, a lot of PhDs think, well, the more information you have, the better communicator you are. Not true, right? To paraphrase a famous quote, I think it was attributed to Einstein, but I think likely misattributed. It was, if you can't explain it simply enough, you don't know it well enough, right? So showing employers that you can put your resume onto one page, it shows a level of confidence. It shows a level of competence as well. And this is a particular format we see work really well for MSL positions. We see it work really well for application scientist positions and for certain types of analyst positions. Marketing communications a little bit too, some medical writing positions if they are off-label medical writing positions, which we'll cover later. So do not do a two-page sidebar format. The whole point of the sidebar is to get it all on one page. I see some PhDs doing a two-page sidebar. Do not do that. On the left side of the sidebar, put your contact details, your skills. You can have a slightly longer list here, but the key is to make it just those skills that are asked for on that particular job posting or that you learned about during that informational interview. Education, your professional summary, it can be 3 bullet points, but you might need to narrow it down to 1 or 2, and then your work experience, just your top 2 work experience, your previous work experience from 2 different universities or companies that are the most relevant for the position. Okay, so now we're going to discuss cover letters. This is something special we wanted to do here during our program on recessions, because when hiring is through the roof, a cover letter is usually an afterthought, unless it's a very formal job posting or very formal hiring process, like maybe some management consulting firms like McKinsey and Company. It's a very formal process. You need a very formal cover letter, et cetera. When hiring is very high, like it was pre-coronavirus, you didn't even need a cover letter. You know, maybe the email that you sent with your resume attached was the cover letter, but now you have to stand out. You must have a cover letter in a recession. And we're going to show you the only 2 that you really should consider. There's a lot of misinformation out there about cover letters. I'm going to tell you the 2 that you have to choose from. Do not veer outside of these 2 because employers are looking for very specific information on the cover letter, and they're used to seeing 2 specific formats, and these do not change much over time. In fact, people have been using the first template that I'm going to show you here for decades. Okay, it's a formal business letter format, and we're going to go through it here. So I'm just showing some data here. A Career Builder survey of 1,500 recruiters and hiring managers found that 29% of employers said they wanted a cover letter. This is when hiring was up. Okay, during a recession, most are going to want this. Non-customized cover letters are rejected half the time, and those that are rejected have spelling errors. So the cover letter, it's formal. It has to be formal during a recession. You have to get it right. And it has to be different than your resume, and it has to be specific to every individual position. So 3 ways to send a cover letter: typed into the body of the email with the resume attached as a Word formatted document, right? So this is when hiring levels are high. You can get away with just sending like a nice note in an email or like a nice little paragraph. During a recession, you must stand out once again. Okay, so you need it as a separate document. I would use Word or similar. You can use Google Docs, but then save it as a PDF so that things don't get messed up, because PDFs are the most likely. They're very obviously small, lightweight. There's not going to be problems sending it in most cases, and it will show up usually universally the same doesn't matter what operating system they have in most cases. Integrated into the actual resume document itself. It appears on the first page of the resume, which is sent, right? So it can be set as a separate document. I recommend sending it, unless they ask for it uploaded separately. Otherwise, send it as part of the resume. If you do send it as part of the resume, send it as the first page of the resume, and make sure that the resume is also as a PDF. When in doubt, send it as 2 different documents. 7 cover letter musts. It must be standard business letter format. Page size should mimic the standard for the country you're applying to, right? So A4 for Australia, UK, Europe, and the US. Use US letter format. It should only be 1 page. You have to edit it or cull it if it's longer. No more than 1 page for a cover letter. I repeat, no more than 1 page for a cover letter. First paragraph is usually just 1 sentence where you're indicating the person who referred you for the job. During a recession, you need a referral. You have to at least find somebody working at that company who you can have enough of a conversation with to ask them if you can mention that you've had a discussion with them on your cover letter. In the first sentence, name drop. This is a game changer. The people that do this will get hired during a recession. The people that don't will not. It's as simple as saying, I was discussing this open project management position with Jane Smith, your current R&D analyst, and she thought I might be a good fit for the position. And that's why you're applying, right? So you're giving a rationale and you're name dropping, you're showing social proof, etc. I recently talked to Jane Smith about this open R&D position, and I wanted to apply to it because I thought my skills would be a good fit for the position, right? So maybe that person you talked to didn't suggest you'd be a good fit, but you just had a conversation. Then just say, I recently had a conversation with Jane Smith about your company, and I wanted to apply to this position because I think my skills would be a good fit for it. That's it. That's your entire script. It must be addressed to an actual person. You can't use dear sirs and madams. You can't say to whom it may concern. None of this stuff. You have to make it specific to an individual person. So you have to search and find somebody to send it to, find out who the hiring manager is for that role. We'll talk about how to do that. The second paragraph is only about how your experience matches the role, right? So the first paragraph could just be a sentence, maybe 2 sentences at the most, a salutation, you name drop, you mention the rationale why you're applying for the position, which includes talking to somebody about it and the fact that your skills fit the position. And then in paragraph 2, you talk about how your experiences specifically match that role. Okay. The third paragraph, you specifically talk about the overall value. Now, this is the second paragraph. You can bring up very specific technical and transferable skills. The third paragraph, you bring up, again, it can be the fact that you like to collaborate cross-functionally with people. You can bring up their cultural values, which are on their websites, right? If it's diversity and inclusion, innovation, whatever it is, show that you're overall a good fit with that company culture and value. Every job needs a new cover letter. Again, make it specific. Now, this is the most common template. This is that standard business letter formatting. This is where you have your name up here, and you have the address and their phone number, your address. Let me start that from the top for the editors. So this is the most standard template. This is business letter format. In the top right, you have your name, address, phone number, contact details. Always include LinkedIn in today's age too. The left-hand side, you include the date, the recipients, as well as the recipient's title, as well as their address, and then dear and the person's actual name. You have the 3 paragraphs like we're talking about. The first one should be 1 or 2 sentences. This is all just jargon to give you kind of just an idea of the spacing. Everything's left justified, and then you have sincerely, and then you have your name and your title beneath that. Now, how do you find out? I'm going to show you the second template, but I'm going to talk a little bit about how to find out who to address your cover letter to. A lot of people give up here and they send out a generic letter. Always a mistake. Find out through informational interviews, through online research, which you're all good at, who to send the cover letter to. So you can call the company. This is not weird. It's going to be scary for you, but you can call the company and say you heard about this position from so-and-so, or you saw it online, and you're wondering who is the hiring manager responsible for the position. You could even go as far as saying, I wanted to address the cover letter specifically to a hiring manager. Can you tell me who's the best person in HR to address it to? It's that simple. Get on the phone. Their phone numbers are on their websites. Obviously, you can network with people setting up informational interviews, which we'll cover in later programs. Read through the job posting thoroughly. So many PhDs miss the details on the job posting of who's collecting the information. Very often it's at the bottom of the job posting. It's embedded in the text. It's on the side, or there's a link to the person who's responsible for the job. Very often it's there, especially on LinkedIn and many other job sites. If you're talking to somebody in an informational interview, one of the last things you want to close with is, can you tell me who's responsible for hiring for this position, or who's the hiring manager for this role? It's that easy. And again, we'll talk more about that later. You can also do an online search. We have a great article, cheekyscientist.com/ways to find the name of the person to address your cover letters to. Now, you can just Google cheekyscientist.com, cover letter, how to find the name of the person to find that article. It's a great article. We talk about a lot of things here. So there's email lookup tools. It's easy to find emails. There's so many online tools. The best one is Find That Email. And we're showing here, as far as the best overall success rate, Hunter is very good too. You could actually argue that Hunter might be a bit better. The overall rate of the right find is the same. But there's just a little bit better chance that you won't find the wrong one with Find That Email. Find That Lead as well. Finder Expert's a pretty good one. I would focus on these top two, Find That Email and Hunter. Find That Email and Hunter. Scripts of how to mention your point of contact. I covered this briefly. These are the actual scripts. It was in conversations with XYZ that I came to learn about the following, about your company, and with excitement have decided to pursue XYZ position. Ideally, you're going to mention the name of somebody that works at that company, the company's actual name, write it out so they see that company's name. Just studies show that you're more likely to get a call back if you mention the company's name, because it shows that the letter is specific to that company. And then the position, those three things. These are just a couple of other examples that are a bit more verbose. After a mutual contact put us in touch, the name of the contact encouraged me to apply to the open position, right? So position at XYZ company. I'm writing in response to his request and with great interest in the work being done at the company, right? So again, you're coming back to the position name, the company name, and your contact name. And then there's another example there as well. This is a little trick. When in doubt, there are some cool things you can do. So there are a lot of different search engines. You can't do this on Google. And I don't think you can do this on Bing anymore either, but you can do it on DuckDuckGo or some other search engines. You want to use the @ symbol for the social tags, right? So the @ name. So this could be @Pfizer.com. Search the person's name, then search @ and once, usually from the website, if you go to the contact page on the website, you're going to see support @Pfizer.com. That's how you learn what that text is after the @ symbol, the domain name. Like for Cheeky Scientist, on our contact page, it says contact support @cheekyscientist.com. So if you want to find my email, you go to DuckDuckGo or similar, and you type in quotes @Cheeky Scientist, just like you're seeing here, and then Isaiah Henkel. And you're very likely going to find that person's email in a list somewhere or their LinkedIn profile. Pretty cool trick, huh? But again, you can't do it in Google or Bing anymore because they prevent you from doing it, because the @ symbol is for social tags. You can also do it on Twitter. Another little trick for you. We've never shared this before. If you go onto Twitter and use an advanced search, in all of these words, you put email @, and then from these accounts, you put people. You can often get the email if they have a Twitter account. You'd be surprised how many people's names you can find this way. I've made big connections at Google, Amazon, other large companies for different PhDs by doing this. It's a great kind of backdoor into finding email addresses, certainly to find people's names, but email addresses are valuable because it allows you to send your resume and cover letter directly to the hiring manager when nobody else can find their email. And then Snapbird has some tricks for you too. You can go to Snapbird and search for anything that's been posted on any tweet or any social media online at all. It's mostly Twitter though. And you can see if that person has ever mentioned their email address on LinkedIn or Twitter or otherwise. And there's a lot of different search tools for this, but it's worth doing your research for. If they've posted it online somewhere, it's not stalking them. You're doing your homework. You're showing how much you want the position. So keys to attract the reader's attention here. You want to use your elevator pitch. We'll be covering that later in future modules. Make it clear you're a match for the company, and make it clear how you can add value for the company. These two are the most important ones. You match the company's value. You match their culture. You have the skills they need. Here's how you're going to add value. The results you've achieved in the past that are relevant to the results they need you to achieve. You need to communicate this in the cover letter. It's got to be conversational though. It's not like your resume. It's like which is just a more of a list. It's conversational. It's a letter. Right? You're introducing yourself. It's a business formatted conversation. It's a professional conversation, but it's still a conversation. All right, the last template. This one is my preferred template. Your go-to is going to be template 1. When in doubt, go with template 1. But this is my preferred one, especially during a recession, because people are lazier now than they ever have been. They don't like reading a lot of information. They don't like reading big blocks of text. They want to skim, and they like tables. The key is to make this table different than the information that's on your resume. Don't just copy and paste your bullet points here. You just want to show them visually that this is what the requirements are, And this is how you match those requirements. It's still formal. You still have your name and contact details in the top right, the date, their name and contact details on the left. You have your introduction here. You have you mentioned those three things, including the person that works at the company, who's your referral. You mentioned the company's name, the position, but then instead of that second paragraph, you just do an intro, say, you know, below is a comparison of your job requirements and my qualifications. So they see, okay, I said I wanted this on my job posting. This person has these qualifications that match it. As the person's reading it, they say, I said this on the job posting. This person has these qualifications or relevant qualifications. And then you have a close at the end of it. This takes us to the end of our very special training on the type. Let me cut for the editor and do that from the top. This takes us to the end of this module in this program on getting hired during a recession. We will see you in the next module. All right, so how many of you learned something new? That was quite the module. I'm telling you, I need a break. Long day of filming. We still have 2 more sessions to go. So the next session, I just wanted to show it on the screen here before opening up. Next session is a fireside chat with James Gould, Director of Postdoctoral Affairs, Harvard Medical School. Very excited to have him come on at 2:30 Eastern. But I want to make sure that all of you are still here. If you can see me and hear me in the chat box, we're done with that session. What do you think of the program so far? You think it's going to be a good program? There's a lot of other stuff we have to add to it. A lot of extra, a lot of new sessions coming up just today, let alone in the next few days. Abdullah says, great information. Sarah says, learning a lot. Excellent. How many of you are here for the first time? Maybe you've never seen me teach. Maybe you've never seen me teach or never seen anything from Cheeky Scientist. Just curious. Anybody here for the first time? Glad you guys all stayed. I know that we had a lot of, we had a couple of streaming glitches, but it looks like we're doing pretty well now. And we have a lot of new things to cover today. So are you all seeing the stream fine now? Type in yes if you're seeing me stream fine without freezing right now. The bandwidth is a little bit maxed on my end because we're running a couple of live streams here and a couple of different cameras. So I'll wait for you to say yes, a couple of you in the chat box here. Thank you, Elena, Lily, appreciate that. All right, good to see you on. So yeah, we have hundreds and hundreds of PhDs here now. I do want to remind you, before we go to these next 2 sessions, if you have found value here, share the URL on this page with somebody. Maybe somebody who doesn't even know Cheeky Scientist exists, somebody who might end up unemployed, somebody who's unemployed, somebody who's a PhD student with you or a postdoc, somebody who's at your university. Share it on a university thread or site or a forum. Share this because it's something that we're doing, especially for Cheeky Scientist insiders and their friends and colleagues. If you're just joining us, we're recording a brand new program on how to get hired as a PhD during a recession because we're entering a recession. If you don't know who Cheeky Scientist is, we are a company that's been around since 2010, and we help PhDs get hired in industry. And so we're usually a bit ahead of the curve. We came out of a recession after the 2008 financial crisis. We were launched out of that recession. So we know how to handle recessions. And we thought we need to put together a new program. And we're going to sell this program for about $400 when it's done. We're going to be recording it over the next 3 days total. So 2 more days after this, we'll wrap everything on Thursday. But because you're an insider, or because an insider, whether it was a member of one of our programs, an email subscriber, social media follower, or one of their friends or colleagues, if you're here, you get to see us film this live. And so I'll be filming it, and then I'll talk to you in between. I'm going to show you some special clips here. I'm going to take a short break in between just for a few minutes. And then we're going to come back and we're going to do this fireside chat, which I'm very, very excited to do. So we're at how much time do we have here? We're at 11. We have we got 15 minutes until the next session. I'm going to check and make sure that we got everything lined up. We're going to do this next session's an interview that we're going to include in the program with Jim Gould, and he is good to go. Let me see real quick.